First off, can't play me, I ain't no Xbox. I'm pulling up, busting windows. I'm at your mama's spot, kicking cups, smacking dice. I'll make this block hot, no trapping here, slacking where? Wait, get your home right. I'm sick and tired of fucking crying and sleepless nights. Bitches approaching me, telling me they don't know of me. Oh, you think you slick, you think you got one up. You better ask my last nigga, cut his ass right up. Yeah, can't cry over spilled milk if I knew it was rotten. And all these memories we had, they was quickly forgotten. Oh, this nigga think he's smooth, he tryna cast it over me. Keep on lying through his teeth, leave his ass like Emily B. No pink turtlenecks, but I'm feeling bad. You left, I can't let him go, but watch me loosen up. My grip, I'm hopping in my bag. I'm talking about that go wall. Shit, I need a couple bags. Ain't talking about no go yard, bitch. You geeking for? I'm really about to drag and go and cry no more. I had to tell that nigga stop playing with me before they find this picture on murder me. Be more careful with me. I ain't like these other bitches that you used to better watch the way you handling me. I told his ass be careful with me. You better be more careful with me. I ain't like these other bitches that you used to better watch the way you handling me.
Hello, my darlings. Hello, hello, hello. Much love, hugs, and kisses to all those that's in the room, those that will catch the replay today, tomorrow, a few years from now. It's been a wonderful read. It's been a wonderful read. So, I'm grateful that you stuck in there with me. This will be the finale installment of Be More Careful. I am open to suggestions. The new book read will start next year in January. So that I can keep up with the suggestions, please comment under my book readings. That way, I can just go there, I'll see the comments, the book suggestions, and then take a look. And you all need to let me know whether you'd like me to do it in a poll or for me just to, pick for myself from my heart like I did with this one that I'd like to present to you all, okay? So again, this is the final installment of Be More Careful, the revised edition. I will be reading from the Kindle. It is written by the king of urban fiction, Shannon Holmes. Shannon Holmes wrote his first novel, Be More Careful, while in prison. When it was published, Be More Careful immediately became a #1 bestseller, making him a major name in a new generation of hip-hop fiction. He followed Be More Careful with the bestsellers Bad Girls and Never Go Home Again. He lives in North Carolina with his wife and their 2 daughters. Chapter 25. Tone was in a state of shock. He couldn't believe Man was kidnapped. The first thing he did was call his aunt's house in the Bronx to see if Man had gotten there. Maybe Black was bluffing, trying to scare them, but it turned out he wasn't. His aunt told him she hadn't seen him yet. Careful not to arouse any suspicion, Tone conversed about family for a few minutes before hanging up. The next call he made was to Man's apartment, and Mimi answered. Hello? Mimi dully answered. Hey, where's my cousin? Tone asked, not playing any games. They said if I told anybody or called the cops, they would kill him, said Mimi, stuttering to make drama. How many of them was it? Tone asked, followed by a series of questions. What did they look like? Where did they snatch him from? Continuing to blitz her with question after question, looking for answers, looking for inconsistencies in her story, hoping to catch her in a lie, hoping to figure out what went wrong. Tone didn't let up. Calm down, Tone. 1 second, Joe. My bad. YouTube is acting funny. It cut me out. So I really couldn't see for a moment the chat. My bad. Okay? I'm back. Okay, I'm going to go back. I think this is where I left. I'll go. Yeah, this is where I left. See. Continuing to blitz her with question after question, looking for answers, looking for inconsistencies in her story, hoping to catch her in a lie, hoping to figure out what went wrong. Tone didn't let up. Calm down, Tone. You talking too fast, yo. Let me tell you what happened. Mimi told him everything that happened and how she told him everything but the truth. Excuse me. Let me read that because you know who. I started out so professionally, okay? Calm down, Tone. You talking too fast, yo. Let me tell you what happened. Mimi told him everything that happened and how. She told him everything but the truth. I couldn't see their faces. They had on hoodies and I wasn't trying to get killed staring at them too long. You alright? They didn't do nothing to you, right? I'm okay. I'm just scared they're going to do something to Man, yo. Mimi sobbed. Yo, don't worry about Man. He'll be alright. Just stay in the house and wait for me to call you back. Tone hung up the phone. His gut feeling told him something wasn't kosher. Her story smelled fishy. He could understand the kidnappers telling her not to call the police. But why didn't she call him? Surely they wanted some ransom money. Abduction and kidnapping wasn't an accident. It was planned. Man had been targeted, but for what reason? Tone didn't have a clue. To understand the situation, Tone had to investigate the past. Neda's past. He planned on starting with Mimi, as she was a mystery to him. All he knew about the chick was that her and Neda used to be tight, and for some reason they fell out. Tone had seen her maybe a handful of times, and from experience, he knew that Neda didn't like talking about Mimi. In the past, Tone had respected that, but now he needed to know certain things. Like, who the hell had called and told Neda in the first place? As soon as she was out of the shower, he was going to question her extensively. Across town, in a dirty, dark basement. Man was blindfolded, gagged, and tied to a chair. He was still woozy from the bumpy ride in the trunk over to the stash house. Through the vent, he could hear the voices of his abductors. One, you should let me slump her, yo. Or at least let me go get her and bring her back here just to keep an eye on her. Suppose that hoe start running her mouth, yo. I got this, yo. Let me worry about her. We gonna use Mimi to get to Neda. Then she gonna get hers, yo, in due time. Just like the rest of them. We got to be smart about this. I ain't trying to go back to the penitentiary. If I get knocked for another body, they gonna put me under the jail. Man couldn't believe his ears. They had just implicated Mimi in his kidnapping. He swore up and down if he ever got out that chair, he'd kill her himself. Go downstairs and check on him while I go take us care of something. From the basement, man could hear a pair of footsteps fade and the front door slam. Then he heard a loud whistle and the scratching sounds of dog paws, followed by more footsteps on the creaky wooden basement steps. Stink and his dog flew down the stairs and into the basement. Gator, Stink's light brown pit bull terrier with his massive head, was a ferocious dog, bred to fight and kill. Had man gotten a glimpse of Gator, he would have probably shitted himself. Watch him, Gator. Watch him, Stink whispered to his dog. Gator looked intensely at man and snarled, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth. Hello, darling. Much love, hugs, and kisses. Welcome to the room. Sit, Stink commanded, then launched a verbal tirade at man. We let y'all come down here and get money, y'all. What did y'all do? Y'all try to take over. Now what type of shit is that? Asked Stink, throwing his arms out in the air. Man said nothing. He couldn't since his mouth was gagged. This cat got a personal beef with New York for real. Keep it real. Y'all live better down here in B more than you do up there in the big city. Because if y'all niggas didn't, yo, then why the fuck is so many of y'all motherfuckers down here? Huh? As Stink talked to man, he began to pace the floor right in front of him. He grew madder and madder, just thinking about the New York invasion of Baltimore. Frustrated, Stink raised his hand and slapped the shit out of man. The force of the blow almost knocked man and the chair over. Gator reacted to the loud ringing sound by standing at attention ready to attack. Sit, Gator, he directed his dog, then continued with man. Y'all New York niggas is out here getting my money, yo. Fucking with my bitches. He went on, and it was around this time that man gave up hope of coming out of this alive. Neda stepped out the bathroom in a fluffy, white bathrobe from Victoria's Secrets. She walked into the bedroom to find Tone lost in his thoughts. He was sitting on the edge of the bed, his chest bare, wearing only a pair of boxers and socks, looking straight ahead at a blank empty wall. Hold your head, boo. Everything will be all right, Neda said, doing her best to raise Tone's spirits. There was no response. Lost in his train of thoughts, he forgot he had been waiting to question her. Now it was time. Yo, what's up with Mimi? Mimi? Neda questioned, somewhat confused. She hadn't given her much thought since the hospital. She knew friends tested each other, but what Mimi did was totally inexplicable. Her sudden disappearance and unexplainable, her sudden disappearance was unexplainable, and Neda couldn't figure it out to save her life. Yeah, Mimi, I need you to tell me the 411 on her. How does she get down? I talked to sis while you were in the shower and she sounded a little shaky. Word. I don't know for sure, but I am willing to bet Mimi got something to do with this shit. She's lying. I can tell. It's something about her that ain't right. Word to the mother. Mimi? I don't see her doing anything like this, yo. I mean, why would she? She doesn't need the money. Her twin brother and her father used to get money. I know for a fact her family still got paper. What's her story then? What type of person is she? Tone asked, pressuring Neda for some background information. She's a club-hopping party girl, a gold digger, Neda said bluntly. But that's still my girl no matter what. I love her to death, Tone. Mimi gets a little emotional at times, and when it comes to men, she can be gullible. Mimi and me go way back. Neda took an unwanted trip down memory lane, telling Tone how she and Mimi met and became tight. She told him about all the drama they'd been through, and then she told him about the pussy panel. Her life was an open book to him. Neda exposed herself knowing this conversation would bring them closer together or rip them apart. But she told him the truth. There was no getting around it. Tone lay there, non-judgmental, which for a man was hard because of the ego factor. With a stoic look on his face, he continued to pay close attention to every word she spoke. He wasn't shocked or surprised at the things Neda was saying. He just couldn't believe she was so damn devious. The men, the money, and the lifestyle she spoke of put him in reverse as he took her words in. See, there is a flip side to every coin, just as there is a flip side to the game. And Tone had no choice but to understand Neda. Everybody had to eat, and everybody had to make a living. Some way, somehow. And he had skeletons in his closet too. Plenty of things he had done in the game that he wasn't proud of, and he had no intentions of talking about them either with anyone, ever. At least Neda had the courage to tell him and trust him with her life. Lord knows Tone had done plenty of dirt. Matter of fact, he was still doing it. Much love, hugs, and kisses, darlings. Welcome to the room. After all that we've been through, you think Mimi would be there for me like I was there for her. I can't help but feel some kind of way about that. Cause when the shoe was on the other foot, I was there for her every fucking time. Neda declared. Yo, if y'all were that close, why you and Mimi stopped kicking it? That's a good question. Only Mimi knows the answer to that one. Yo, there's one more thing I need to ask you, Tone said seriously. Why? Is the nigga that got my cousin the same nigga who beat you like that? Tone asked, the question figuring he might as well get all the information from Neda while the getting was good. Much love, hugs, and kisses, darlings. Welcome to the room. Black? Responded Neda. The Black. Not the Black from West Baltimore, thought Tone. There were over 1 million blacks in Baltimore, but only one black. His name and reputation preceded him. His name and reputation preceded itself. He was like a living legend. Even though Tone was from New York, he was still rolling in Baltimore, and he certainly knew who he was. People in the street would speak Black's name with reverence and fear. It was as if he were some kind of superhero who had the power to single-handedly drive every New York clique out of Baltimore. I heard that nigga was in jail for killing his man, Tone stated, question fact or fiction. He's out, trust me. That's what everyone else thought till he hit the bricks. Yo, why that nigga do you like that? What, you shitted on him or something? Tone asked, always wanting to know what was behind the attack on Neda. Something like that. I robbed him, Neda said, admitting the truth. Tone just stared at her. He remembered the night he found her. How would he ever forget that? Much love, hugs, and kisses, darling. Welcome to the room. I ain't saying I did or didn't deserve what he done to me. I did take 200 grand from him. I did take 200 grand from that nigga. So, I guess I got what was coming to me. You know what goes around comes around. That's the game. And I took what he gave me. But what I can't figure out is what do me and my cousin got to do with this shit? Or is Black just bugged out on some jealous shit? What? He thinks me and you are in cahoots and that you broke me off a piece of his loot or something? Asked Tone, puzzled. Neda sat there, thinking when suddenly the answer hit her. Black hates New Yorkers. Ever since his Uncle Briscoe got killed in Spanish Harlem, he just automatically started hating New Yorkers, she said, pacing the floor as her mind quickly scrambled. For Tone, though, his mind was scrambled. He had some answers and some understanding. She robbed him for $200K? Tone sat still as he looked at Neda, never thinking that of her. She took a seat in a chair across from him and began apologizing. He tried to kill her, and now he must be coming back to finish what he started. Thoughts of her malevolent, thank you. I hate when I get tongue-tied on a word I know. Malevolent night, and I probably still mispronounced that, but oh well. Night filtered through her head. And since I'm with her now, I'm a New Yorker. He took my cousin. What are you thinking? Asked Neda, looking at Tone, breaking his concentration. I'm thinking, if he could do what he did to you in that hotel room, it's no telling what he will do to my cousin. He said, hurting for man, yet still unable to put his finger on Mimi's role in all of this. You ever get anybody set up before? He asked. You ever set anybody up? Neda expecting the unexpected. No, never. I ain't get down like that. I would never set anyone up. I'm a lot of things, but I'm not that. Don't ask me why I did what I did to Black. Because I don't have an excuse. I guess I didn't love him and I used him, and I'll live with it for the rest of my life. Please know that. And I know that I'd never do anything to hurt you. I just wouldn't. I love you, Tone, she said, hoping he wasn't upset with her. No, that's not where I'm getting at, Tone sharply replied. Then what you trying to say? Asked Neda, jumping up out of her seat, ready to pace again. I'm trying to say that Black had to have somebody help him kidnap man. Somebody close to man. In order to set him up, said Tone, thinking logically like the Libra he was. Well, I don't think it was Mimi. I don't think she's capable of anything like this. Yo, you don't know that for sure. People change. But I know this. What's done in the dark will certainly come to light. You right about that one. I'm going to call a few people to find out what Mimi's been doing, said Neda, opening up the night table drawer for her phone book. Yeah, you do that because you don't know your girlfriend like you think you do. She's not right, Tone said to himself, thinking about his conversation with Mimi earlier. He was willing to bet his life Mimi had something to do with this. For Tone, it was hard to imagine things getting any worse than this. But they would. Neda dug out her black book and dug into her past. She was conducting a thorough investigation. One by one, she called the original members of the Pussy Pound, whom were all surprised to hear from her. Yeah, Neda. She said you said, fuck us. You don't need us. We need you, Petey confessed. I ain't know what the deal was with you, yo. She was saying some pretty foul shit about you. Although her friends couldn't tell over the phone, Neda was visibly upset. They couldn't see the anguish in her face or the hurt in her eyes, nor could they feel the pain in her heart. Neda couldn't believe Mimi had hated on her like that, and for no reason. But the worst was yet to come. Rashida dropped the bomb on her. I'm going to keep it real with you, Neda. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news or backbite Mimi, but girlfriend is out there, yo. She's sniffing that diesel like crazy. Neda was speechless. She never would have guessed that Mimi was getting high. Mimi knew how she felt about junkies and crackheads. I've been wanting to tell you, but nobody could get in contact with you. Damn, baby girl, you should have been called so I could have told you what was going on. Still skeptical, Neda couldn't believe it. Sheeta, how you know about Mimi? Are you sure? Let me put it to you like this. Some nigga approached me on some old bullshit. Straight up, like 3 or 4 different niggas asked me could they run a train on me like we did with my friend Mimi. They said their whole crew ran up in her for a bundle of dope and Mimi let them. I also heard some nigga got her on videotape freaking her out. Camera all up her ass and everything. It's terrible. It's really bad. Girl, damn, where you been? I know you ain't know what's going on. I knew you ain't know what's going on. Neda was silent. There were no words that she could muster out of her mouth at that moment. This was unbelievable. People see her standing on dope lines with toilet paper hanging out her nose, and you're not going to believe nothing else I say because you don't believe what I'm trying to tell you right now, said Rashida, with Neda to brace herself for the clincher. What? What else is there? Questioned Neda, as if it could get no worse. I saw her riding around with Black not too long ago in a black Jimmy, Rashida finally concluded. This shit was a startling revelation, not to mention disturbing to say the least. It added insult to injury. Neda couldn't believe Mimi would cross her like that. Slowly, she began to realize that Tone was right. Mimi was involved in man's abduction. That bitch! How could she fuck with him after what he had did to me? He damn near killed me! That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Mimi had crossed the lines. Friends don't fuck behind their friends. Certain things are off limits, and ex-boyfriends were definitely one of them. You were right, said Neda, hanging up the phone. She looked at Tone. After everything she had told him, this seemed the hardest to say. They say she's getting high and she'd have seen her riding in Black's Jeep a few weeks ago. Yo, I knew it. She's fucking with Black, huh? Tone said as he jumped off the bed and began pacing the floor. He was stressing. Yo, you think Black is holding man for some ransom money? No, he don't need your money. Black is paid, yo. She couldn't bring herself to tell him what she was really thinking. Man is a goner, if not already. She hoped for the best, but expected the worst. Neda was anxious to bring some closure to all this drama. In her heart, she knew this was far from over. She knew Tone would retaliate whether man was dead or alive. Revenge was the law of the land. Back at the stash house, Black sat at a tiny kitchen table mixing a lethal concoction together. What the fuck is that you doing? Stink asked as he hovered over his big brother's shoulder. It's a hot shot, yo. Battery acid and dope, said Black. What you gonna do with it? Stink asked, prying some more. I'm about to finish the game, yo. I'm going to kill that New York nigga, man, and that dope fiend bitch Mimi with this, he said, stopping what he was doing to give his brother a devilish grin. Stink was more than a little disappointed with the method Black chose for murder. He wanted to kill man gangster style. Shoot him to death and watch him bleed. Black busied himself, bagging up half the hot shot and cooking up the other half in a mayonnaise top over a low flame on the stove. When that was done, Black went back to the table and into his jacket pocket, pulling out an old filthy hypodermic needle he'd found in the alley. He drew up some water from a puddle in the sink, squirting it through to make sure the needle worked. Satisfied, he drew up 50 cc's of his poison potion and cautiously cradled the needle in his hand as he headed toward the basement door. This should be enough to kill him, thought Black. The sounds, footsteps, coming down the basement stairs awoke man from his nap. Alerted and aware he had company, man listened to the 2 sets of footsteps closing in on him. What are these jokers up to now? Man thought as he felt a pair of hands roughly rolling his sleeve up. Panicked, he began shifting his weight from side to side in the chair, trying to prevent them from doing whatever they were trying to do. Stink! Hold this motherfucker down! Hollered Black. Securely fastened to the chair, man wasn't much of a match for Stink. He bear hugged him to keep him still. It wasn't till the needle stabbed man in the right arm did he know what was happening. This was it. Man felt it through his veins. Black squeezed every drop of poison out the needle. It quickly entered man's bloodstream and raced straight towards his heart. Man's insides were on fire, and he began to sweat profusely, going into violent convulsions. Man tipped his chair over desperately, trying to scream and free himself. Black and Stink backed up and watched him squirm around on the floor until he no longer moved. Within minutes, man was dead, and a sick smile spread across Black's face. Late that night, they dumped man's body in Druid Hill Park in West Baltimore. The next day, a morning jogger spotted man's body in some bushes and notified the authorities. The Baltimore Sun newspaper carried a small article. The headline read, New York man found dead in Druid Hill. Tone happened to be reading the paper when he came across the article. Yo, I'ma kill that nigga. Word to the mother. I don't care where I see that nigga or who's he's with. Tone took the news hard. It began to affect his thought process, causing him to think reckless, regardless of the consequences. You know where that nigga lives at? He demanded to know. Neda merely shook her head no. She helplessly watched him pace the bedroom floor endlessly. No words came to mind that could relieve his stress. What about his mother? You know where that bitch lives? Tone asked crazily. Again, Neda shook her head no. It hurt to see Tone go crazy right before her very eyes. Tone was bitter and mad at the world. He felt directly responsible for man's death. In his mind, it was all his fault. If only he had left man in New York, this wouldn't have happened. Tone swore on his life he would avenge his cousin's death. He knew the only way to deal with a beast like Black was with violence. Slay or be slain. The only thing power respects is power. Unable to face his family, Tone stayed down in Baltimore after sending man's body back to the Bronx. He knew that they would blame him for what happened. Tone couldn't bear to face them till he took care of Black. At least his mind would be at ease knowing that he had handled his business. Then, and only then, could he deal with whatever the family had to say. Tone put the word out on the street that he was going back to New York for good, and as if he didn't want any more trouble. He let everybody think that he was soft so that Black would drop his guard. In reality, he was on a murder mission and wanted nothing more than to find Black. Neda temporarily put her life on hold for Tone. Though he never blamed her, she felt personally responsible for what had happened. Neda watched Tone sink deeper and deeper into depression and revenge. She tried to console him. She loved him so much. She wanted him to know that he wasn't alone and his pain was her pain. Neda never loved any man the way she loved Tone, and Tone was about to test that love. I love you, she said passionately. Do you really love me? He asked. No doubt. Tone, I'd die for you, she said, meaning every word. Damn, that's deep. Would you kill for me? He asked right back. Neda just stared at him. There was no need in wondering what he was talking about. He was going to let her know. I need you to take care of something. What? Neda asked, not sure if she wanted to know. Kill Mimi. You know she set up my little cousin to get murdered. Kill her, said Tone coldly. He had just asked her to commit the ultimate crime, the ultimate sin. And as crazy as it sounded, Neda actually was contemplating it. Though her new life was nice, she never had grown fully accustomed to it. Neda still had the same street mentality in her she always had. Old habits do die hard. Neda thought long and hard about the question Tone placed in front of her. Kill Mimi. Kill Mimi. Kill Mimi. His words echoed in her brain. Neda thought about everything, all she had been through, all she had done. For everything it was worth, she didn't know if she could risk it all in the name of love or in the name of Tone.
Come on, try to make you understand. Be more careful, better watch your step. Cats get caught slipping and their shirts is wet. Quiet as kept, we scheming where that work is kept. It's beef in the east, protect your chest in the west. Be more careful, better watch your step. Cats get caught slipping and they shirts is wet. Crowd is kept, we scheming where that work is kept. It's Baltimore, we know for money, murder, and sex. Murphy Homes, the land of the chrome and the raw bone. Yellow tape, vicinity, labeled a corpse zone. Ammunition, ranging from text to crossbows. Run up in cribs, quick to put the pistol cross domes. We reppin' and it ain't no secret. Taurus between the pelvis and the briefs. We got pieces that will rip off pieces. Double clips take together will endanger the species. My crime I mix with raw, so my paper increases. I make $1 million on a busy corner. Master chemist with a vicious formula. Gotta run bounce to California. Y'all niggas know how Baltimore is. Station and bad work to the mortician and the flawless. But I'm out of town, let's get extorted. Then escorted to the city limits. Minus that 6-digit fortune. These locals are compelled by them evil forces. While haters get 18 holes like they up in golf courses. Be more careful, better watch your step. Cats get caught slipping and they shirts is wet. Quiet is kept, you scheming where that work is kept. It's beef in the east, protect your chest in the west. Be more careful, better watch your step. Cats get caught slipping and their shirts is wet. Quiet is kept, you scheming where that work is kept. It's Baltimore, we know for money, murder, and sex. From my locks and my Timbs and my all black, saw hoodlum. War wounds and battle incisions, grant me wisdom. Penny gold, held me as a child in his bosom. Feeding me the milk of the world. I was given the game and taught the rules by urban wizards. Got 2 words for this flow. It's superb and vicious. Matter of fact, got you more. It's intense and malicious. Yeah, don't get fucked up. I like to send a shout out to all my bitches from the knock 'em down to the pussy pound. Keep it tight, my bitches, cause every day in the underworld we facing dilemmas. Do we run or bust that gun? We'll face it together, my niggas. Sell pot, run it forward with big plans and big decisions. Ain't no stopping the hustle, so keep it together, my niggas. It's one love. All it takes is one snitch to run it all. Keep your circle close knit, cause a brick house won't fall. Keep your basement door locked, don't let them rats infiltrate. Cause if you see one, then you got 20 that poison the food on your plate. Listen, build your man, cause I got a plan to make it right. Please don't come through tripping, cause you won't make it through the night. Be more careful, better watch your step. Cats get caught slipping and they shirts is wet. Quiet is kept, we scheming where that work is kept. It's beef in the east, protect your chest in the west. Be more careful, better watch your step. Cats get caught slipping and they shirts is wet. Quiet is kept, we scheming where that work is kept. It's Baltimore, we know for money, murder, and sex. Be more careful, better watch your step. Cats get caught slipping and they shirts is wet. Quiet is kept, we scheming where that work is kept. It's beef in the east, protect your chest in the west. Be more careful, better watch your step. Cats get caught slipping and they shirts is wet. Quiet is kept, we scheming where that work is kept. It's Baltimore, we know for money, murder, and sex. You hear me?
Welcome back from intermission, my darlings. If this is your first time here, even if it's not your first time here, hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that notification bell because in January, yes, we will start a new book, my darlings, a new one, okay? And most definitely hit that thumbs up, okay? Hit that thumbs up. I'm trying to give y'all my best, okay? And if you feel free, donate. It's in the description box, the links. And I love y'all. So let's keep it moving. I hope during intermission you got yourself something to like wet your palate. And got you some snacks and things. Okay? Because we going out with a bang. You heard? Literally. Chapter 26. And much love, hugs, and kisses to all those that's in the room, that came in the room, and that will come in the room. Okay. Chapter 26. Sitting in the living room in total darkness, Mimi was high as a kite, flying next to the clouds. Nodding, saliva was running out the corners of her mouth. She was drowning in her emotions, feeling helpless. "Oh my God, what have I done?" she asked, after finding out what happened to Man. "It wasn't supposed to go down like that. They weren't supposed to kill him," she thought to herself. No, things had gone too far. Black's scheme had brought her consequences she'd never imagined. Death. Much love, hugs, and kisses, darling. Welcome to the room. Paranoid. Mimi was living on the edge of reality, not caring about anything but her next high. Going into seclusion, she avoided everybody. She feared for her life, so she stayed clear of Black. After all, he killed Ty, Man, and God knows who else. Mimi stayed confined in the same apartment she once shared with Man, only going out to cop her dope. She refused to answer the phone or the door. In her trance-like state, Mimi never heard the apartment door quietly open and shut. She never saw the perpetrator advance towards her in the darkness. Suddenly, the lights clicked on. Mimi's heart skipped a beat. Scared, she thought. Black had finally tracked her down. She tried snapping out her drug-induced stupor, but her droopy eyelids struggled to open as her pupils tried adjusting to the light. She squinted and blinked till she focused her vision. By this time, a dark, blurry figure dressed in all black was standing over top her, clutching a stub-nosed .38. "Mimi!" Neda questioned as she stood above her, unaware of her target. "Mimi!" Neda questioned as she stood above her, unsure of her target. She couldn't believe how bad Mimi looked. There were rings around her eyes like she hadn't slept in days. Her hair was unkempt and wild, and her nose was caked up and crusted with snot, boogers, and dope. "Nada?" Mimi slurred as she recognized the sound of her friend's voice. Ashamed, she never wanted Neda to see her like this. She continued, "How you get here?" "Don't worry about how. Look at you. Why is you fucking with that shit?" said Neda, still holding the house keys Tone had gotten from the coroner when he identified Man's body. "I don't know," Mimi mumbled. Embarrassed, her chin was glued to her chest. To see her in this condition hurt Neda more than Mimi's betrayal. Her girl was hooked on dope. She took pity on Mimi and suddenly began to have second thoughts about killing her. "Why did you set Man up, yo? What did he ever do to you?" Sobbing, she answered, "He slapped me." She sounded like a spoiled brat, sounding like her answer was justifiable. "But Black pumped me me up to do it. He tricked me. They was just supposed to beat him up, but they kidnapped him. They killed him. Didn't you know that Black was the one who tried to kill me? And even if you didn't know, how could you fuck with him? That's some trifling shit. Damn, Mimi, you were supposed to be my best friend. How could you? This was supposed to be easy. In and out, point and shoot. No rapping, just do what you got to do, according to Tone. He never took into account their friendship, their bond, because he never recognized them having one. This made the task more difficult. Mimi wasn't a stranger. She was a friend. I'm sorry, Neda. I swear I didn't know Black did that to you. Not knowing wasn't a good enough excuse for Neda. She raised the gun to Mimi's head, and with her hand on the trigger began to tremble uncontrollably. She couldn't pull it. Neda's mind was playing tricks on her. Do it! Don't do it! Do it! Don't do it! She's your friend! Do it! The bitch is a snake! Do it for Tone! He loves you! Voices echoed in Neda's head, battling back and forth. Neda thought she was going crazy. She lowered the gun. Don't kill me, Neda. I love you. Please don't kill me, said Mimi, capitalizing on Neda's indecisiveness. Why? Mimi, why? Why you tell Rashida and them all those lies about me? Why do you cross me like that, yo? Remorseful, Mimi began to cry. Neda, you always pick men over me. First it was Major, then Black, and then Tone. You let all them niggas come between us, Neda. Can't you see I love you? Asked Mimi, tears streaming down her face. Bitch! What the fuck you talking about? You so fucking high off that shit you don't even make sense. I was always there for you. Always there for you, Mimi. This was an emotional moment. Sluggishly, Mimi struggled to her feet while Neda watched her a few feet away. Stumbling, Mimi made her way over to Neda. When she reached her, she hugged and kissed her softly on his cheek. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you. I was jealous, said Mimi. She hugged Neda again, kissing her other cheek. Then quickly, Mimi moved from Neda's cheek to her lips, kissing her lips as she forcibly stuck her tongue in Neda's mouth. Now, I'm disgusted by the thought because she's a crackhead, so I can imagine what that hug and them kisses smelled and tasted like. I just got like a little reflex in my stomach right now, just from I had to read that. This is a cold read, the first one in 20 years since I read this book, and like, okay, I forgot this disgusting part. Okay, that was just very. And this is so unprofessional of me to say that, but I mean, we're all thinking it, are we not? Okay. Stunned, Neda was caught off guard. She reacted by violently pushing Mimi off her. What is wrong with you, Mimi? She asked, wiping her mouth. Bitch, I'm not gay. What's wrong with you? I love you, Neda. I've been in love with you since the first day we met. Remember when we met on a bus? Asked Mimi, regaining her balance. Motherfucker, I'm not gay, said Neda as she spit on the floor. Damn, I can't believe you. Neda couldn't believe Mimi came on to her. She remembered all the times they shared the room when they were growing up, all the times she got undressed, all the little moments they had shared. Neda leveled her gun, taking aim at Mimi's head. She squinted one eye, using the gun's sight to line her up. Slowly, Mimi kept advancing, but again, Neda couldn't pull the trigger. Mimi walked right up on Neda as if the gun wasn't there. Suddenly, with every ounce of energy in her body, Mimi swatted the gun out of Neda's hand. Neda watched as the gun went flying across the room. Like a wild animal, Mimi leaped on Neda, knocking her to the floor. Landing on top of Mimi, savagely clawed at Neda's face as she tried to pin her arms down. Neda was fighting back as Neda was fighting for her life. Excuse me. Let me read that again. Neda was fighting back as Mimi was fighting for her life. Neda used all the strength she could muster to hurl Mimi off of her. Using the same momentum in her favor, Mimi took off crawling for the gun. Quickly, Neda sprang to her feet and grabbed Mimi's ankle, dragging her backwards and away from the gun. Neda yanked on Mimi's ankle so hard that her hand slipped off and she was left holding only one white sock. Once again, Mimi was on the loose, but instead of making a mad dash for the gun, she stood up to fight. The two women circled each other like wrestlers. Then Neda faked high and went low, grabbing Mimi by the waist and slamming her down into the wooden coffee table. Then she made a break for the weapon. Recovering quickly, Mimi was hot on her heels. Both women dived for the gun, but Neda won the race. Extending her fingers and nails extending her fingers and nails as far as they could reach, she fumbled with it on her fingertips until she gripped it. Mimi was on her back, holding on her arm for dear life. They tussled for the gun, doing a series of rolls on the floor as they fought one another fiercely. Lamps and vases crashed to the floor, along with a black picture frame. Ah, Mimi screamed as Neda sank her teeth in her arm. This was enough to break Mimi's hold. Momentarily, Neda gained the advantage, firing off one shot. The scuffle was over. Mimi lay dead with a bullet embedded in her skull. Large, multicolored wreaths decorated the funeral parlor. Paying their last respects at the wake, Neda greeted Mimi's grieving mother and son, offering her condolences as if she didn't play a part in Mimi's death. I'm going to pause right here because I don't know if this was lost in translation from the hard copy to the Kindle version, but normally there are asterisks put when they skip ahead or go back or skip sceneries, and there's not one here. So that's why I just read it that way, but I'm not feeling that read. So I'm going to go back, okay? So we can get a full understanding, because this is a review with commentary. And, I like everyone to understand the story and where we are. Ah! Mimi screamed as Neda sank her teeth into her arm. This was enough to break Mimi's hold. Momentarily, Neda gained advantage, firing off one shot. The scuffle was over. Mimi lay dead with a bullet embedded in her skull. Large multicolored wreaths decorated the funeral parlor. Paying their last respects at the wake, Neda greeted Mimi's grieving... Oh, I'm going to kill my dog. Sorry, y'all. Large multicolored wreaths decorated the funeral parlor. Paying their last respects at the wake, Neda greeted Mimi's grieving mother and son, offering her condolences as if she didn't play a part in Mimi's death. "I'm sorry, Miss Tina," Neda woefully apologized as she broke down crying. "I know, baby. I know. It will be all right, Neda. Calm down, baby. It will be all right." Tina agonizingly replied as they embraced. Tina was so consumed by Neda's grief, she almost forgot about her own. Poor Tina. The game had claimed all of her children in one way or another. She never knew that the very thing in her life that brought her so much joy, being her children, would turn around and cause her so much pain. As Neda played the role of a grief-stricken friend and not murderer, the funeral home began to fill up with mourners. Young people from the hood, former classmates, and a pussy pound came to pay their last respects. One by one, they passed the casket to view Mimi's body, something Neda couldn't bring herself to do. Her conscience was killing her, and she couldn't bear to see Mimi in the casket. She would have done anything to take back what she did. She tried to tell herself that Mimi was simply there sleeping, but deep inside, Neda knew she wasn't. The guilt of what she had done was eating her alive. If only she could tell someone, maybe she'd feel better. She knew she wouldn't, though. Just then, Neda stood as still could be, looking like a mannequin. She watched as a tall, middle-aged, dark-skinned man brushed by her. He was dressed in a navy blue suit and black shiny wing-tipped wing-tipped shoes. Not toes. Wing-tipped shoes. Neda recognized him instantly. It was her father. It was Dollar. What the hell is he doing here? He walked up to the casket and bent over and kissed Mimi on the forehead. Then he mumbled a few words, after which he turned around and greeted Tina, who broke down in his arms. "She's in heaven now. Our baby girl is in heaven. It's going to be okay. Our baby's going to be okay." Neda, an earshot away, didn't need to hear him. She could read his lips. It was like she was standing in a low tide and watching a wave moving steadily towards her, crashing right on top of her head, taking her breath right out of her. Her whole entire world was about to collapse. Suddenly, Neda felt ill. Her stomach ached. The pain in her belly was the same pain that screamed as loud as her sobs. Her breath was breathless as she helplessly tried to breathe. Tiny beads of sweat gathered on top of her forehead like rain on a wax car. Her eyes filled with tears as her face cracked of pain. What have I done? Oh God, please forgive me. Please, what have I done? People naturally assumed she was overcome by grief. But It wasn't. It was guilt. She'd killed her own sister. Just when Neda thought she'd played the hand that life dealt her, fate shuffled the deck and dealt her another card. Mimi's father was her father. A sea of emotions swept her back to the day so long ago she walked into the crowded bar, waiting to see her father, wanting to see the only man that never wanted to see her. Why? Mommy, why? She cried out, never ever calling Renee that. She saw her so still, but there was no answer. All the pain of abandonment and hatred she had for her mother, so long to find out in the end how much she loved her, had ate her up too. She never cried for her mother. She never cried for anything. Even when she was in the hospital after all that Black had done to her, she never cried. Even Nurse McNeil cried when she was leaving, but she didn't. However, she cried today. She cried for Miss May, for her mother, for Major, for Man, and for Mimi. She cried for all of them, but more she cried for herself. I'm so sorry, Mimi. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I love you, Mimi. I love you. As the days passed, Neda felt the guilt not as a burden, but as a curse she would carry for the rest of her life. For every day God gave her life, she would have to live with what she had done. How could she, though? She killed her own sister. All the petty bickering over the years of what nigga did this and what nigga was going to do that. Who had this car? Who had that piece of ice? Who outdressed who? And all the little jealousies and evils brought them to this day. Neda was left standing alone. If it brings you anything, when you are finished destroying everyone around you, you will still have yourself left to deal with. This was Neda's rock bottom. When her father walked into that funeral parlor, Neda's invisible shield disintegrated. That shield protected her feelings and emotions all of her life. Without it, she was vulnerable and emotional, something she had never been. As the days and weeks passed after the funeral, she contemplated suicide so much she just didn't have the heart. Night after night, she sat on the toilet next to the bathroom sink and took a razor out of a tiny box. She placed the razor in her hand and sat it on top of the inside of her wrist. She looked at the map of the veins under her skin. All she had to do was slice, then it could all be over. Her life could be over and she wouldn't have to hurt anymore. No more pain. Please come. Let me have the heart to do it. Please, God. Let me do it this time. but she didn't have the heart to do it. Or maybe that was just one prayer God wouldn't answer. She put the razor down, feeling more insecure and hating herself for being a coward. So she tried pills. She couldn't swallow them, though. Keeping it real with Tone had cost her dearly. She couldn't even confide the truth to him that Mimi was her sister. So she kept the dark secret to herself, and her sorrow for Mimi turned into rage. Long hours passed by as Neda thought to herself how to get back at Black for all he'd done. Yes, she knew she was guilty, but so was he. And he would pay. Again. Revenge would pay his part. She wanted to kill Black with a passion more than she wanted to kill herself. Through the grapevine, Black learned of Mimi's death, and it was music to his ears. Good riddance, he thought. Someone had saved him the trouble. He wondered who. Word on the street was Tone and Neda packed up shop and headed north. New York, that is. Black was disappointed he didn't get a chance to kill them both. At the same time, he was fretting himself because he ran Tone out of Baltimore. Now, Black was busy concentrating on locking down East Baltimore. He wanted shit back like the old days. It's hard accepting the fact that things can never be the way they once used to be. But Black was determined to try. He became a permanent fixture on 21st and Barclay, his main money-making block. When word got back to Tone that Black was showing his face regularly, Tone devised a plan to murder him, and Neda was more than willing to be a participant. Fantasizing about killing him was what kept her alive. His death was her lifeline. Revenge was all she wrote. As nightfall spread across Baltimore City, Black's silver S430 couldn't be missed, parked down the block. He was profiling and supervising his drug operation, which was still in the infancy stages compared to the level Black was on before he went to prison. He had an all-night shot in an attempt to come up quickly. Wanting to upgrade to an S500 or maybe a 6, he figured his presence would ensure his ship to run smoothly. And it did. The block was pumping. Black's workers were busy catching an incredible rush of customers in the alley. They were serving customers and running back and forth to the stash house, leaving Black alone at times. Down the block, 2 dirty dope fiends pushed a little shopping cart full of soda cans slowly up the street. Both were busy fanning out the different sides of the street, checking the curbs for empty recyclable and refundable cans. Closer and closer, they inched towards Black as he busied himself, taking on his cell phone. Excuse me, my dog jumping off the bed caught my attention. I'll reread that. He's going to go bother with his father now. Okay. Closer and closer, they inched towards Black as he busied himself, talking on his cell phone. Sitting on the hood of his hoopty, Black was deep into a silent train of thought until they were right in front of him. By the time he saw who it was too late. This was the moment Tone had been waiting for. payback. Pushing aside his trench coat, he exposed a Mac 11 semi-automatic submachine gun strapped to his shoulder. At the same time, Neda produced a 9mm Taurus with an infrared scope. Black's eyes got big as $half. He knew immediately who this Bonnie and Clyde team was. Neda and Tone. They had the drop on him, but Black refused to go out like a sucker. Staring down the barrels of two guns, he looked Death square in the eye and didn't blink. Do what you gotta do, yo, he said, gritting his teeth and defying human nature. These were the last words of a dead man. Tone squeezed the Mac 11's hairpin trigger, letting loose a barrage of bullets. The gun spit shells everywhere, each shot jerking Black's body in a different direction, knocking him off the car. Neda moved in for the kill, running around the car to where Black had fallen. She pointed the pistol and put the red laser dot on his head. Then she pumped slug after slug into him until he was beheaded. Tone stood back and watched as Black's head exploded like a ripe tomato. Come on, he said over by her side. When Neda was done, she spit on him, desecrating his body as he had her. By now, Black's workers heard the shots and came running. Seeing Black laid out in a pool of blood, they began firing at the two fleeing figures. Tone turned and let off a hail of semi-automatic gunfire, causing them to duck for cover. This allowed them to turn the cover, putting some distance between the crime scene. Just as they left the block, Stink rode up on his motorcycle. Speeding, he'd heard the shots from blocks away. He pulled up where the crowd had gathered, and there, on the ground, he saw his big brother. Black, no! Screamed Stink as his mind went blank and he couldn't think. They went that way, Stink! A worker yelled as he pointed. A guy and a girl! Another one yelled as Stink took off after them, gunning his bike in their direction. Making their way to the getaway car, Tone and Neda were home free as they drove down North Avenue. They were careful to obey the speed limits. They didn't want any problems making it to I-95. Traffic was unusually heavy for this time of night, and they moved at a slow but steady pace. Tone reached over and grabbed Neda's hand, signaling his approval about what they'd done. He had his reasons. For his cousin and Neda, they did what they had to do. 1 second, my dog is being mischievous. 1 second, child. My bad. He must have heard me say the word mischievous because he hurried up and ran to go see his dad. Okay, where was I? Tone reached over and grabbed Neda's hand, signaling his approval about what they'd done. He had his reasons. For his cousin and Neda, they did what they had to do. He'd do Black and she'd do Mimi. That had been his plan for his cousin's revenge. Smiling, he reached over and kissed her. It's going to be all right, you know. I love you, Neda. I love you, Ma. Gaining ground, Stink was helped along the way by innocent bystanders who had pointed out the getaway car. Riding his bike like a madman, he maneuvered in and out of cars through the blocks and the streets looking for them. With a gun in his waistband and his hands securing him to the bike, he was unable to wipe away the tears rolling down his face until he stopped at red lights and stop signs. Is that them? Stink wondered. Up ahead, he could see a black Chevy at the red light. Stink slowly began to cruise between the stopped cars in front of him towards the traffic light. At the light, Tone and Netta were contemplating their own thoughts. He was heading back home, I-95 North, straight to New York. He had big plans too. He was ready to open a nightclub in his Bronx neighborhood. It was time to leave B-More, and he didn't want to wind up like his cousin, man. Tone didn't want to die and his family have to travel like that for him. B-More wasn't his town, and he certainly didn't want to end up doing no time in prison for a murder rap either. He didn't know which was worse. Nada was in her own trance, thinking about her life, thinking about her new life in the Big Apple. She wanted to get out of B-More and away from all her demons. There was too much pain, too much misery, and too many old memories for her in this town. Bringing his motorbike to a halt right before the light change, Stink pulled up to the driver's side window of the Chevy. Calmly, he stared at the sight of Netta on the passenger side. As the car pulled away from the light, he reached into his waistband and geared his bike. He screeched through the moving cars, down the white skipped lines in the middle of traffic until he reached them. Tone! Netta screamed as she saw Stink pull out a 44 Magnum from his waistband and began blasting. The automatic spit blood bullets, shattering the glass, hitting Tone in the side of the head as his chest slumped over the steering wheel. Death reflexes caused his foot to mash down on the accelerator, sending the car flying into the path of a metro bus. The black Impala hit the bus head on. The car flipped over twice, then slid down the street upside down, going backwards, headed towards Stink where it started. Oh shit! Said Stink as he revved his engine and tried to get out of the way of the flying Impala. Unable to, he rolled the front tire as the back tire went up in the air. He spun around in a circle as he watched the car hurl itself into a utility pole where it rested upside down. The jarring sound, screeching bus wheels, and the two vehicles colliding could be heard for blocks. All traffic came to a standstill, as did all the people walking down the sidewalks. There was no movement, as a great silence fell before a motorcycle could be heard traveling off in the distance. Someone call for help! Someone call 911! Screamed a woman who had gotten the closest glimpse of the two figures trapped in the Impala. A total wreck, a sick piece of twisted metal, blood, and glass. Game over.
Miss Tony said, how you want to curd? Miss Tony said, how you want to curd? Miss Tony said, how you want to curd? What's up? What's up? LP said, how you want to curd? LP said, how you want to curd? LP said, how you want to curd? What's up? What's up? No for long said, how you want to curd? No for long said, how you want to curd? No for long said, how you want to curd? What's up? What's up? No please said, how you want to curd? No please said, how you want to curd? No please said, how you want to curd? What's up? What's up? What's that? How you want to curd? What's that? How you want to curd? What's that? How you want to curd? What's up? What's up? Hold up. Unruly. Can I get the breakdown? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Unruly ain't no joke. Murphy Holmes said, how you want to curd? Murphy Holmes said, how you want to curd? Murphy Holmes said, how you want to curd? What's up? What's up? Miss Louise said, how you want to curd? Miss Louise said, how you want to curd? Miss Louise said, how you want to curd? What's up? What's up? Cherry Hill said, how you want to curd? Cherry Hill said, how you want to curd? Cherry Hill said, how you want to curd? What's up? What's up? Lisa B said, how you want to curd? Lisa B said, how you want to curd? Lisa B said, how you want to curd? What's up? What's up? Unruly, do me one more favor. Take it back to the breakdown. Y'all ready for this? Unruly, unruly, get busy. Unruly, get busy. Chauncey said, how you want to curd? What's up? What's up? Robert said, how you want to curd? What's up? What's up? Scotty E said, how you want to curd? What's up? What's up? Unruly, do me a favor, break it down. What? I got one to send a couple shots up. You ready? Here it come, y'all. Unruly breakdown. Woo! Unruly. Ooh, unruly. Ooh, unruly. Latrobe said, how you want to curd? Unruly. Somerset said, how you want to curd? Ooh, unruly. Lafayette said, how you want to curd? Ooh, unruly. East Side said, how you want to curd? West Side said, how you want to curd? What's up? What's up? Nikki Land said, how you want to curd? Fed and Dead said, how you want to curd? What's up? What's up? Unruly, do me a favor, I want to break it down. Uh-oh. Unruly, 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 unruly. Break it down. Woo! That beat is so hard in my chest, I think I'm gonna have a heart attack. Unruly, unruly. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Unruly, break it down for me while I get real quiet. Break it down.
Epilogue. In the aftermath of Tone's death and car crash, the jaws of life was all Neda could remember of that night. She didn't remember the crash or the days leading up to it, but she did remember her last conversation with Tone. He was so excited. He came back for her after the car stopped moving. She didn't want to go with him though. She didn't want to go with him though. Even though she was in pain and had nothing to live for, she wasn't ready to give up quite yet. I love you, baby, she whispered to him before falling into an unconscious state. Other than a minor head concussion and a few broken ribs, Netta emerged from the accident unscathed. Once again, she had cheated death. While in the hospital, after undergoing a series of examination, it was discovered that Netta was 2 months pregnant. New York Tone would have been a daddy. Her unborn child held her future and her past, causing her to reevaluate life. She wanted nothing more than to avenge Tone and seek out Stink. But she quickly abandoned any more thoughts of murder. Instead, she would put it in God's hands. And as the old folks say, especially since he had now put a more important responsibility into hers. She broke the vicious cycle of revenge. She cut her losses and moved out of Baltimore, vowing never to return. Neda is currently residing in Atlanta, Georgia, and enrolled in Clark University. However, she had to take a short leave of absence from school to give birth. Neda had a healthy baby boy who she named Anthony Thompson Jr., affectionately known as Little Tone, in honor of his father. She's raising him in an isolated environment where he is safe and can have the childhood she never had. However, as soon as he comes of age, Neda has every intention of telling him about the game. She doesn't want Little Tone to be delusional in any way. Neda is determined to school him about the street life without him ever having to experience it for himself. Financially secure, they are living quite comfortable down south. As of this writing, the other members of the Pussy Pound are still deep in the game. Rashida, Petey, and Fila are still playing Russian roulette with their lives, taking chances with AIDS and the men they deal with. To them, the whole situation, the fate that befell Mimi, Black, New York Tone, Man, Netta, and her mother, Renee, was just unfortunate fate. Nobody ever really thinks it could happen to them. Death is, until it does. And then it's too late. Death is always a reality in the game. Miss Tina, Mimi's mother, is currently raising little Timmy as best she can by herself. She has her hand full living in West Baltimore. She has big plans of moving down to Maryland Eastern Shore, near Ocean City, before the streets get hold of little Timmy. She doesn't want him to even get a teeny tiny taste of street life. She's doing everything she can not to lose another one of her babies to the streets. Willie Johnson, also known as Dollar, Mimi's dad, is still living in Baltimore. And he's still doing his thing. He helps Tina out with his grandson from time to time. Rumor has it he has a contract out on his life. Excuse me. Let me reread that. Rumor has it that he has a contract out on the life of the killer or killers of his daughter. After Black's violent death, Stink took over the reins of his brother's drug operation, eager to establish his own reputation. He began putting his murder game down, systematically knocking off rival drug dealers and anybody from New York in his town trying to get money. This led to his subsequent arrest and conviction on triple homicide charges. He is presently serving 3 natural life sentences, running wild. While thugging it out in the penitentiary, Stink stabbed another inmate to death over a card game and has since been transferred to the Maryland Supermax in an attempt to control him. He has been confined to his cell 23 hours a day. Nard copped out to 15 years with the state. But while serving his time in Maryland Corrections, also known as the Cut, he continued to mastermind an elaborate drug operation from jail. He was indicted on federal kingpin and conspiracy charges. Nard ran one of the biggest drug rings inside and outside the joint that the Maryland authorities had ever seen. Several high-ranking correctional officers were also arrested as a result of the lengthy investigation. Nard had to be removed from the Maryland correctional system. He had too much power. He is currently serving his Maryland state sentence in Arizona. And after he's paroled or released, he will be transported to a federal penitentiary to begin serving his life bid. Nard will never see the light of day again, unless he escapes. If life was fair, there wouldn't be any ghettos or any Nedas, Mimis, Blacks, or Tones. But since life isn't fair, the ghettos turn out more Black youth every day like the ones you just read about here. A simple twist of fate here, or a break in life there, and these characters could have been anything in life they wanted to be. But a cruel fact of life is circumstance. The majority of circumstances dictate the course in life we take. Circumstances dictate our choices in life. Only in theory do we control our own destiny. So, right or wrong, left or right, good or bad, life altering decisions are made like these in the ghetto every day. At an early age, if placed in the same situations, do you think you'd make it? How? Think about it before you rush to pass judgment or condemn someone else. Be more careful.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. First off, can't play me, I ain't no Xbox. I'm pulling up, busting windows. I'm at your mama's spot, kicking cups, smacking dice. I'll make this block hot, no trapping here, slacking where? Wait, get your home right. I'm sick and tired of fucking crying and sleepless nights. Bitches approaching me, telling me they don't know of me. Oh, you think you slick, you think you got one up? You better ask my last nigga, cut his ass right up. Yeah, can't cry over spilled milk if I knew it was rotten. And all these memories we had, they was quickly forgotten. Oh, this nigga think he's smooth, he tryna cast it over me. Keep him lying through his teeth, leave his ass like can we be? No pink turtlenecks, but I'm feeling bad. You less, I can't let him go, but watch me loosen up. My grip, I'm hopping in my bag. I'm talking about that go off. Shit, I need a couple bags. Ain't talking about no go yard, bitch. You geeking for? I'm really about to drag and go and cry no more. I had to tell that nigga stop playing with me before they find this picture on murder me. Be more careful with me. I ain't like these other bitches that you used to better watch the way you handling me. I told his ass be careful with me. He better be more careful with me. I ain't like these other bitches that you used to better watch the way you handling me.
Well, my darlings, we did it, and we finished before Christmas. This is the last installment. As you've just heard, I read the epilogue of Be More Careful. If you've missed any parts or would like to, revisit any chapters and refresh your memory or whatever, feel free to check out the playlist. If you would like to have an open discussion about the book and then do a panel, my contact is in the description. Let me know. I'll set one up and we can do that before I start the next book. If you have any suggestions or any further book series, much love, hugs, and kisses. Grand Rise. Welcome to the room. If you have any suggestions, I've had a few on future books you would like to hear me read, discuss, commentary. Doesn't matter if I've read them already. If I haven't, doesn't matter, okay? Because to reread on this 20 years later, It was very refreshing, and I enjoyed it very much so. And it took me back to my heyday, okay? Because, I'm not that young anymore. But when this came out, yeah, it hit home in a lot of ways, even though it's fiction, okay? I would like to thank the author, Shannon Holmes, who captured a time in my life artfully, beautifully done, and put it to print. I'd like to thank all of you for sitting with me. I haven't even kept count of all the installments, but we did, I think, 27 chapters, 26 chapters. I'm not sure. 26, 21, 2. So I think we did 26 chapters in the epilogue. So about 27 chapters altogether, 2 at a time. This is the longest, just under 2 hours, but it's the final installment. So, my darlings, take heed to the epilogue. There were some wise words written there. Thank you, 27. Yes. There were some wise words written in the last there are wise words all through the book, but I'm going to read it again that I've officially finished the book, because I think this needs to be heard. And again, these are Shannon Holmes' thoughts and words. If life was fair, there wouldn't be any ghettos or any Nedas, Mimis, blacks, or tones. But since life isn't fair, the ghettos turn out more black youth every day, like the ones you just read about here. A simple twist of fate here, or a break in life there, and these characters could have been anything in life they wanted to be. But a cruel fact of life is circumstance. The majority of circumstances dictate the course in life we take. Circumstances dictate our choices in life. Only in theory do we control our own destiny. So right or wrong, left or right, good or bad, life-altering decisions are made like these in the ghetto every day. At an early age, if placed in the same situations, do you think you'd make it? How? Think about it before you rush to pass judgment or condemn someone else. I love you, darlings. Very much so. And I'll see you out here on these YouTube streets.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man.
Key, dead man.